Welcome to the Creating Assessments and Adding Questions to Assessments demo. First, log in to your Desire to Learn account and go into your course. On the course navigation bar, click on the Assessments link. Notice the icons with the options you have in the Assessments tool. Click on the new icon. Notice the tabs along the top. We will work with each tab to set up the assessment. The questions are added on the last tab. Starting on the Properties tab, in the Name field, type in the name of your assessment. Example, Week 5 Quiz. For the Category drop-down menu, if you decide to use categories such as Test, Pretest, Quiz, or Self-Assessment to organize your assessments, you will need to first create them using the Add Category link. Example, click on the Add Category link. Type in the name of your category and click the Save button. If you have already created your categories, use the drop-down menu to select the correct category. The assessment can be connected to the gradebook. If you haven't already set up your gradebook, do that first, and then return to the assessment. If you need help, view the Creating Grade Items demo. If you have already created your grade items, use the drop-down menu to select the correct grade item. Notice that categories will appear in italics. You do not choose categories. Grade items will appear in regular text. Only grade items that are numeric and haven't been assigned will be displayed. Select the grade item you want. If you want to add additional grade item in a category, use the Add Grade Item link. If you decided to use a grade item, make sure that you check the box for Auto Export to Grades. This allows the grade to show up in the gradebook. In order for D2L to automatically grade the assessment, you will need to check the box next to Automatically Grade. If you forget to do this, students will not receive a grade at the end of their assessment, and you will have to manually grade the assessment. If you turn this option on in the middle of an assessment, the students who complete the assessments after you resave the assessment will get graded automatically. But the students who start and/or complete the assessment before this option is selected will still have to be manually graded. The automatic grade function will not work if the test contains long answer questions. Under Optional Advanced Properties, you can allow hints that you have built into your assessment to be displayed or not. You can have an email sent to you when someone completes the assessment, and you can disallow right clicks and pager access. Click Save Assessment. Under the Restrictions tab, in the Availability section, you have the ability to use start and end dates for your assessment. Under the Status drop-down, you have the options for inactive and active. A new exam defaults to inactive status. For a student to be able to see your assessment, this option must be saved as active. If you use the start and end date options, students will only be able to click on the assessment during the time frame you choose. You can choose to have this displayed in the calendar. In the Additional Release Conditions section, you may add special circumstances for when a student may view your assessment. If you need help setting up release conditions, view the Setting Up Release Conditions demo. In the Security Options section, you have the ability to only allow students to take your assessment if they are using the Respondus Lockdown browser. This means that if they are currently using Internet Explorer, Firefox, Safari, Chrome, or any other web browser, they won't be able to start the assessment. They will only see the option of downloading Respondus Lockdown browser to their computer. Once they have installed it on their computer and use it to navigate to your course, they will be allowed to start your assessment. In the optional Advanced Restriction settings, you have the option to assign your assessment a password and locking the test down to a range of IP addresses. If you want to use the IP address feature, please contact the Office of Instructional Design and we will give you the IP address range for Midlands Technical College. When you use this feature, students will only be able to start an assessment if the computer they are using is connected to the Midlands Technical College network. For timing, you can set a time limit. Choose to enforce the time limit or show clock. Type grace period in the text field to determine how many minutes the user has after the time limit has expired to submit the assessment before it is flagged as late. You must include a grace period of at least 1 minute. Select Late Submission Options. This decides what to do when the student is late. Allow normal submissions. Lets users submit quizzes if time limit or grace period has passed. Use late limit if the time limit, grace period, and late limit period are exceeded. The user is given a grade of 0. Auto submit attempt. If the time limit and grace period are exceeded, the system automatically submits the assessment, including all questions saved before the time limit and grace period expires. Any questions not saved prior to this, even if answered, will not be submitted. In the Advanced Availability section, with the Allow Selected Users Special Access to this assessment button checked, you can click the Add Users to Special Access button and give specific students access to the assessment on a different time frame than what's used above in the dates field. This option is normally used if specific students miss the assessment for an excused reason and need to take the assessment on a different date than the rest of the class. You can change the dates, time limits, grace periods, and late limits for selected students. When you do this, you will notice a key icon next to your test name in the assessment list. Click Save Assessment. Under the Attempts tab, you have the options for how many attempts the students get on the assessment and which attempt is used for their grade. If you allow multiple attempts, you can have a range that limits when the students can have an additional attempt. For example, you might restrict the second attempt to a student who scores above 60% by typing in 60% into the min box. This allows only students who got a passing score the first time to have a second attempt. Note that if the students still have attempts left, that in their Updates widget, it will still show that they have assessments that need to be completed. If this is an issue, and everyone has finished taking the assessment, you can change the status on the Properties tab to inactive. Doing so will remove the assessment from their Updates widget, but still allow the students to see their grade. Click Save Assessment. Under the Submission Views tab, you decide what the students see when they turn in their assessment. By default, the only thing a student will see at the end is their final grade. If you check the box on the Properties tab for auto grading. If you want to change the default view, click on the default view link. Example: your assessment has been submitted successfully. You can now move on to Chapter 2. You have the options to show the students the questions on the assessment, how much information about the question you want to give them, and class status. Example: yes. Show all questions with user responses. Show question score and out of score. And show class average. Click the Save View button in the top right corner. Under the Reports Setup tab, click Add Report. Name the report Question Details. Click on Question Details. Click on Release Report to Administrator, Department Chair, Faculty. Click Save Report. Click Add Report again. Name the report Attempt Details. Click on Release Report to Administrator, Department Chair, Faculty. Click Save Report. Finally, under the Questions and Layout tab is where the questions are added to the assessment. Click on the Add Edit Questions button. This screen is the same screen you had when you were creating your questions in the question library. If you skipped the question library class and don't have any questions created yet, don't panic. You can still create questions here. To create questions, use the Create New drop-down menu and pick the type of question you need to create and click the Go button. If you need help creating questions, view the Creating Sections and Questions in the Question Library demos. If you have already created your questions, click on the Import button. In the Import Source drop-down menu, select from existing collection. In the Source Collection drop-down menu, select Question Library. In the Source Section drop-down menu, select the name of the section you saved your questions under. After the screen refreshes, select the questions you want on this assessment. If you want all of the questions, select the box at the top next to the section name. When you are finished selecting questions, click on the Save button. Repeat this import process until you have all of your questions. Then click the Back to Assessment, Layout and Questions link. If you need to change the default point value for your questions, click on the Add Values button. Scroll down the page to change the points as necessary. This is also where you can decide if a question is a bonus question. Check the box in the bonus column if this question is a bonus question. When you use this feature, the total score will drop by the amount of points of the bonus questions added to the total. Click Save. As you can see, the previous total was 11 and now it is 35. Note that if you use bonus questions, make sure that your gradebook item was set up to allow the student's grade to exceed the max points field by checking the Can Exceed checkbox in the gradebook. If you don't use that option, the student will see that if they made a perfect score on the test of 100 and got a bonus right for 5 extra points, their grade on the test was 105. But in the Grades tool, they will only receive 100 points. In the Question per Page area, you can decide how many questions are on each page of the assessment, and whether or not the student can look back at previous pages as they progress through the test. When you finish making changes, click on the Save Assessment button in the top right corner. If you are finished making changes to your assessment, click on the Assessment List link icon. Look at the assessment title. Note that the word Inactive will appear if the assessment is not active. A key will appear if there is special access, and a square with 2 arrows will appear if it has a release condition. You have now successfully created an assessment and added questions to it.